Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. Hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on this channel where I reflect on what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my opinion on it, and more important, asking for yours, mate. Ben Jacobs clearing up the Cristiano Ronaldo situation. Todd Boehly is interested in Ronaldo, but Chelsea have better and more exciting priorities, and Chelsea do need to change and evolve. And I want to talk about the midfield a little bit. That game against Manchester United, and indeed recent games, have highlighted Chelsea's talented but heavily flawed midfield. And we're going to talk about that today, so thank you for joining me. Strap yourselves in, boys and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, please do drop a like. It takes a second and it helps your boy out. You're welcome to subscribe, and should you choose to do so, yeah, you can hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Nearly at it. Listen, mate. SPITCH, baby! This video is brought to you by SPITCH. Look at this celestial light around me. I'm glowing like an angelic biblical figure. SPITCH, though, fantasy football, and it is free. It's 18 plus to play, but you can win money through free season mode as well as paid season mode. You don't have to commit to a whole season. You can just dip in and out whenever you want on the game weeks. It's good fun. It utilizes an OptiStats engine, so it's the thinking man's fantasy football. And I suggest you, dear friend, go check out SPITCH, my partner, and see what you think by clicking the link in the top of the description. Let's go back to the studio. It's a bit late, that transition, isn't it? But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the midfield, but first I want to give you an update. Because what's his ruddy face, Kevin Palmer, the turn comments off on Twitter journalist after Chelsea's disappointing draw against Manchester United yesterday. Though I think, I did a post-match presser on that, but in relation, context is required for that game. Ten Hag's long developed that team and found a winning formula. Potter's still figuring this Chelsea team out. He's undefeated still. He's got, 5 wins and 3 draws, 14 goals scored, and only 3 conceded. Hey, that's pretty good, man. But I understand the frustrations from everyone at the moment, understandably. But Kevin Palmer, that journalist, yesterday, he was like, oh, there's a big story brewing down here, Chelsea, mate. And I will release the story later this evening. So everyone's thinking, right, what's he say? Is there been a bust up? What's happened? Is there some sort of sensational thing going on? Most people went, this guy's a whopper, he's just chatting breeze. And later on, late last evening, he released said story, simply talking about Chelsea chasing Cristiano Ronaldo and how Chelsea still remain heavily interested in him. Of course, Thomas Tuchel didn't want him, but Chelsea co-controlling owner Todd Boehly really did. Now, 9 out of 10 Chelsea fans would be like, screw that, mate. And I'm with you. I do not want him anywhere near my club, mainly because he's washed, but secondly, because of that disrespect, the sideshow, etc. This report was suggesting he'd take a big pay cut, and he wants to come to Chelsea, and now the bookmakers have made Chelsea relatively heavy favourites to be his next club, which is a terrible thing. But fortunately for us, the CBS reporter, Chelsea-linked Ben Jacobs, has given us an update, and I'm going to take you through it now. Excuse my cold, and hopefully this can make us all feel a little bit better. So, strap yourselves in. Quote, or this is his tweets. To be clear on Chelsea and Ronaldo, Todd Boehly sees the appeal of signing him, especially to the brand. He asked Thomas Tuchel multiple times to consider him. Tuchel was consistently dismissive, rightly so, and at times dismayed about how often Ronaldo's name was mentioned. Todd, bro, shut the frig up about Cristiano. I dig it. You want, your own Brady branding at Chelsea, but this is not the way to go. Ben Jacobs continues. Nothing has changed or progressed since. George Mendes has held no further talks with Chelsea on Ronaldo. Even the summer chat was largely exploratory. And I think obviously you would have told him about Portuguese league and Portuguese club because Boehly and Clear are interested in buying satellite clubs around Chelsea, including a Portuguese side. Boehly won't move for Ronaldo as a priority. That remains, and drumroll, the midfield, thank God, and will still only do so with Graham Potter's blessing. Very, very positive. We will talk about the midfield shortly in this video, but that's very positive to hear. My understanding is Potter has other forwards in mind above Ronaldo in the pecking order. He likes Rafa Leao, brackets, a pre-existing target before his time, and Johnathan David, and Ivan Toney is also on his radar. Really, really interesting. Rafa Leao, obviously very exciting and explosively unpredictable attacker, which would help us, I think, but at the same time, not really industrious. We've spoken about that before. Let's read on. Ronaldo on a free or a loan with cut wages could prompt more suitors to make a move, but right now Ronaldo to Chelsea is viewed as a hard sell. Sources close to Mendes sees a route to Roma next season, especially if they qualify for the Champions League and also MLS, but obviously if he goes to MLS, he's tapping out of his Champions League, stat padding, I suppose. But they are less confident in Chelsea Football Club materialising, even on a short-term deal. Ronaldo would also have to be convinced he'd play often enough or he could end up in the same position as Manchester United currently. There is that. What Mendes is hoping for, though, is Boehly staying on as sporting director through January and exerting more of a personal say. That's what us, the Chelsea fans, do not want, or certainly the majority. Especially with extra time to assess the market, but Chelsea sources maintain Ronaldo would never be signed without a, quote, 100% buy-in from Chelsea manager Graham Potter. And breathe. He's not the answer, ladies and gentlemen. You look at how Manchester United played well and popped loads of shots off against us yesterday. I feel like we would have done a lot better had they played Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, he could be a wild card sort of finisher off the bench, but for a systemic philosophical manager like Graham Potter, it is absolutely not the answer. Very interesting to hear those names mentioned. Of course, we know Rafa Leao, but to mention Johnathan David again, of course, the Lille Canadian international centre forward is very, very good. And Ivan Toney, who's a hot topic, I think. Many people are liking the look of Ivan Toney. He's hardworking. He's kind of a bit of a bully. He's already spoken in several interviews how, though he takes facets of his game from different inspirational striker figures, he's spoken about Didier Drogba on a couple of occasions, and I'm sure if you said to Toney, "Want to come to Chelsea, mate?" he'd probably say, "Hell yes." Interesting, very pleasing to hear that Ronaldo isn't a priority, and Todd Boehly, I'm pleased he wants to spend money. I'm pleased he wants to, make us win and make us a big power, and he's not just going to take money out, and he does believe winning championships is the route to go as the Chelsea ownership, but he will have to get his head around the fact how we are not signing Ronaldo, mate. We've made good signings, I think, recently. I think, though I think Sterling probably needs to be benched for a bit, I still maintain he's a good signing. Of course, Fofana, how much I love Fofana, and Cucurella is a good player, though he's had to be subbed on a couple of occasions. Again, he's a good player, and he's in his prime, and so these are good, helpful signings, and of course, we saw how much we missed Koulibaly, etc., etc. Very pleasing, though, to hear how a priority, quoting Ben here, is the midfield, so let's talk about that now. Right, so something that I've always maintained is Chelsea have very talented midfielders. And let's go through them. Jorginho, he has his people who don't like him, he has his people who worship him, and then he has his people, fans like me, who sort of recognise how he's useful and he's like a specialist player. A good player. N'Golo Kante, world class, never fit, but, if we're talking about the talent on the roster, he's, arguably top of the tree. Kovacic should get a new deal. A little bit worried about his injury, but yes, you'll be hard pressed to find a Chelsea fan who doesn't rate Mateo Kovacic. And then you've got, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who, sometimes looks superb in the midfield, and when he's in central areas, he can be totally unique in his play. And some people are even touting him for an outside chance of going to the World Cup now. he's a good player, and he's a bit of a utility player at times. He's played as a sweeper centre back, he's played in the front three, he's played as a wing back. But yeah, he's good. And then of course you've got players like Gallagher and Mount, which we know their value. And then we've got things like players like Carney Chukwuemeka, who's in the first team, and he's being utilised to change games. They're all very talented, but there's still a problem. That functionality and it's the player profiles, the roles. It's like we're lacking a conventional style CDM and more of a conventional creator. Yes, Mount can score goals and assist and move around, but we don't have. It's like a Matic. I know he's not a sexy player, Matic, but Matic and Fabregas, two multiple Premier League winning midfielders. Multiple? Multiple. We've Sesk one, two of us. That are, of their profile. Fabregas uniquely creative, whether it was it's like Primers or Prime Fabregas in the Premier League are historic, like legendary in terms of what they produced. And Matic, that conventional destroyer CDM with just nous and know-how, we're missing it. And if you look at that game yesterday, that feels like a loss, but that draw against Manchester United, I'm not going to say Bruno Fernandes as a creator, but I'm going to mention two players, Casemiro, and not because of his goal, because of how they played in open play. Casemiro and someone like Christian Eriksen. I really wanted us to sign Christian Eriksen on a free before into Man United. I really hoped we'd consider him one of these players that just gets their head up and makes those, risky passes. Chelsea just don't have it, and the conventional CDM and know-how of Casemiro, it's like having what we have in Thiago Silva and a centre-back, but having that as a CDM. Yes, they overpaid massively for Casemiro, and he's going to be on silly wages, but he's still a great player in the profile of they need. Real Madrid probably very happy that, they made that much money on him, of a guy in his 30s, 70 million, I think. Wild for a, that age player. That's not a, like a Neymar who's the same age or whatever. Do you know what I mean? For a more defensive player. But he's someone they needed, and now Ten Hag's brought him in, they look so much better. And yeah, so we talk about conventional CDMs. Many of you will rightly to say, what about this Dennis Zakaria? Clearly we saw we needed that, hence looking at Alvarez of Ajax and eventually bringing in Dennis Zakaria from loan from Juventus. Once, I imagine that was relatively pushed by Thomas Tuchel because he knew him from his good times in Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga. I guess Tuchel would have been managing Dortmund then, so he would have been aware of him. But, he's not featured, so there's clearly an issue there. Of course, Potter's saying the right things, saying he's training hard and he's trying to get into the team. Great, but clearly there is an issue there. But that's the kind of player, the profile of player we've been looking for, that conventional style CDM to start, man. We're looking for a player to start. And he would take one of the places of Jorginho or Kovacic or Loftus-Cheek, and, Loftus-Cheek would be utilised in more attacking games and midfield threes and etc., etc. And I think we will look at that. And I'm starting to think it's more of a priority. It's very, very tricky being a Chelsea fan because you sort of dance around the fact how, we've got loads of talented players, whether they're attackers or midfielders. But it's about finding the right players now for the way we want to play. And whether it's, I know they're not doing well at the moment, but Liverpool with Fabinho, conventional CDM. You could even say the same with Rodri at Man City. Granted, Rodri is more of like a sort of tiki-taka, not like a regista, but remember they bought him from Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. You could say the same about Thomas Partey at Arsenal. These conventional style stoppers, CDMs, that we are simply lacking, and of course Tottenham have got Basuma and Højbjerg and all this kind of stuff, and we're a bit too soft. We're a bit too soft, man, and I'm pleased to hear that is a priority, and I'm also pleased to hear Ronaldo isn't. But yeah, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Let's start up the conversation. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you for dropping a like and subscribing and all that. Interactional jazz. Keep it locked, friends. I hope to see you soon. Enjoy the football. And yeah, I'll see you later. Peace.